Hi, this is Jen Rubin. This is Jen Rubin's Green Room. I have with me a special guest, James Carville. Welcome, James.
Oh, well, thank you, John. Read your piece all the time in the Post, so I'm delighted to be on it. Thank you.
Well, thank you. So we were just chatting before we went on that if the Republicans lose, and I'm very hopeful that they will, what do they do then? Their entire party has been devoted to this freak, this cult of personality. Where do they go from here?
Well, right. It depends on how they lose. If Harris gets 282 electoral votes, nothing's going to change. Very low's going to change. If it's not Trump, it's going to be somebody equally Trumpy. If I were a Republican, a lifelong, somebody like a lot of people I know, was just having a conversation with George Conway, we both agree they need a Goldwater level loss if they want to get a kind of pro-business, slightly nationalistic, traditionalist party, whatever the parameters are of that. If they want to have something like that back in play, the only way you're going to get that is through a wipeout. And I don't know if that's, I don't even know if that's achievable, but
yeah,
that's where you are.
The Electoral College is such that, you wind up with close electoral count margins. But the problem for the Republicans is worse than it was in '64, because in '64 you had Reagan in the wings, you had Nixon in the wings. Who do they have in the wings now?
Well, you don't know, because so many of them. I had a conversation last night with Senator Mark Warner, and and he was sort of where I was pretty early about Biden shouldn't run for re-election, and he said, what kind of moved me was I would see these Republicans, and they didn't believe any of that, all right? They just had to go along with it, and I thought to myself, why do we have to go along with that? And I think he made a very valid point, is that we go in the caucus, we talk about how, hey, he doesn't like this, he doesn't believe in this, but he just doesn't think he has any choice but to go along. And then we're allowing ourselves to do the same thing. We all think Biden's too old. We all think we need to make a change. But do you just go along with it?
Right. And I think last night was a perfect resolution of that, which is, thank goodness he stepped away. He was a heartfelt speech. The crowd was very appreciative, but he looked like an old guy up there, a little angry, a little bit, looking backwards. It's a good thing, I think, he stepped away.
But he's entitled to that.
Absolutely.
And he's entitled to a lot. He's entitled to have bridges named after him, okay?
Absolutely.
He has earned that right. But what you don't, no one is entitled to the presidency at all. And you understand there's a difference, and people would say, but he's such a great guy. I know that. It doesn't
mean anything in the long run.
Doesn't mean anything.
It's a very hard business. I mean, it's, you're either going to win or not, and it's not like they're running against Mitt Romney.
No.
The stakes are incredibly high. What did you think of Hillary Clinton last night? I thought she was the highlight of the evening. I thought she was fabulous.
But you'd expect me to say this, but she was. And I think that her speech was like the stench of 2016 is now gone. We dealt with it. I've dealt with it. It's been 8 horrible years. And to every Democrat, 2016 just sits in a bad place in our stomach. And I think that it was a kind of cathartic, but it was very well delivered. She looked
fabulous.
She looked better than any time I ever saw her look in 2016. And I agree. And I was very, I thought the speech was very well thought out. And I like the fact that she said, we got him on the run. I want Democrats have been very outspoken on this. We have a male problem, all right? Our language is too NPR-ish. They can't relate to it. And and I think we should use more of that kind of, we got him on the run kind of language.
Does Tim Walz help them do that? There's a plain-spoken guy who sounds like a normal person. Does he help that problem?
I think he does. And my view has always been, it's not policy that we have a problem.
No.
It's how we present ourselves. Okay, he's probably more liberal than I am. which is, not the easiest thing in the world to do, but not impossible. But he's also a football coach, a National Guard guy, a hunter. He takes his daughter on the dangerous rides at the state fair kind of thing. I mean, all of that kind of cultural presentation, I think, is important. And, I used to maybe not pay as much attention to the role of culture in American politics. I've learned the kind of hard way it plays a pretty significant role.
It really is. I think if you were looking on paper, as I was, I thought, Josh Shapiro, important state, governor, but it would have been a very Democratic, capital D, exclamation point ticket with two kind of elite-schooled, elite people, both from big cities, cultural.
Philadelphia, San Francisco.
Right.
And I love Josh. He's a great friend of mine. I think he's ran the best campaign of 2022. But, and I had friends in Minnesota, and they were all talking about how good that Walz was. And they all wanted me to get him on the podcast, and regrettably, it was too late.
There you go. He's kind of booked for the next 77 days or however long.
Podcast to do.
All right. So you're the campaign manager for Walz and Harris. What are the 2 or 3 things you tell him to do?
First, people don't know you. They think they know you, and you may think they know you, but they don't. So you have a lot to fill in the next 3 days, 3 nights. I think it can be done, but understand this basic bio is really, really important here. And you probably may want to. This is the strategy here is as simple as it can be. It's 2028 versus 2018. Not a choice. We're going to go back to 2018, or we're going to take the country forward to where we can be in 2028. Anything you can do to do that, you should have a lot at your disposal. I mean, it's not like you don't have a pretty sizable toolkit here to work with. And maybe another, I don't think you need to do an exhaustive like we did in 92 with, 85-page economic plan.
No one pays attention. Not even I pay attention to those things anymore.
I didn't either. I know what was in it. Is come out with some more kind of forward-looking proposals. My favorite would be to raise taxes on incomes above $400,000, which raises, I don't know, something you could look it up, $1.5 trillion over 10 years. And take that and put it in a first-time home buyer's mortgage relief fund. All right, just to say, I see, because we keep telling these young people how good they have it, and they're like, shit, I can't buy a house, I can't send a kid to college, what do you mean how good I have it? So if you do something like that, you're actually saying,
right.
And I'm sure the usual suspects will say, it's not that good idea, how are you going to administrate it? It's okay, fine. It was like when she came out with the inflation, the price rigging. Oh, that doesn't happen very much. Are you crazy? It happens all the time. You think that the airlines don't talk to each other, the pharmaceutical companies don't talk to each other, the insurance companies don't talk to each other? And by the way, all of these Ivy League economists, who do you think rigs prices more than anybody? I got news for you. There's 7 schools, and hey, if you jack it up to 72,000, I can go to 71.5.
By the way, she would be a hero to American parents if they ever called colleges in and threatened them with antitrust litigation. Yeah. College costs have gone crazy.
Stupid.
And for what you're getting, which is sometimes very marginal or counterproductive, that would make her a hero.
Scott Galloway correctly calls Harvard a hedge fund that offers classes. They have a $53 billion environment.
Yeah.
Why am I going to pay off someone's student loan to go to a college that has a $53 billion environment?
And why is it a nonprofit? $53 billion, in the market is not a nonprofit in my book.
They're a price-fixing cartel. We all know that.
Yeah. Having put two kids through schools, I can attest to that. So she did roll out a first-time home buyer. She did roll out a child care provision.
And
it's substantive. She did say she's going to raise the corporate tax to 28%. I haven't heard from her on the individual tax side.
It's a lot of money.
It is a lot of money.
It's a bucket load of money.
And I think she's setting up the contrast. Do you want to do good things for lots and lots of people with this money, or do you want billionaires to get richer and richer and richer?
You know, Jennifer, the other thing is, and you can feel it, there's always a tension between capital and labor. But you can see that even me, sometimes I would think maybe the unions are going a little far here. All right? In this instance, who was not for the writers?
Yes.
Who was not for the auto workers? All right? No,
yes.
I mean, it just instinctive, because instinctively you knew what was going on. And you knew that they agreed to all kind of crappy two-tier pay systems, that you knew the studios were taking a rate that was unconscionable. And I don't care if you grew up liberal or conservative, this is a case where everybody wanted labor to win more than they wanted the other side to win.
And speaking of which, I thought head of the UAW last night was fabulous. I think calling Trump...
That Trump is a scam.
Yeah, I think that is just right on. And not only does that get that he is opposed to working people, but it's also... What a slimy character, would actually stick it to working people, would actually undermine them, would actually make life harder for them. And I think that's such a great word, and it's an ugly word. It sounds ugly, and he's an ugly person. So kudos to him and to organized labor that introduced that. I hope she picks up on that.
Anybody that touches Trump, Trump is contagious.
Yes.
If you touch him, you're going to look awful. So the head of the Teamsters thinks he's pulled a brilliant Teamsters move. So because his members are kind of like, he wants to stay in and save money, and his members are probably more inclined to be for Trump than it would be to be for Paris. And then, of course, Trump gives the interview to Elon Musk and starts bragging and telling him how great he is, that he busted the union, and and then the guy had to come out and trying to save his ass, said, well, no, that's not a good idea. The lesson is, he is literally, what you said about Social Security, he is the third rail. Touch him and you will die.
Yeah. All right, let's do a quick round of predictions. Okay. Do Democrats win the House?
Can? Yeah.
All right.
Can. Yeah.
Do they hold on to the Senate barely with their fingernails, or is that just out of reach?
Well, J.B. Porsche, who's a very close friend of mine who runs the Senate Majority PAC, and we went to lunch yesterday, and somebody is, he's very well known among the Democratic political class, and said, I think we're going to do pretty good because J.B. is not mad.
Yeah. Well,
so I think I think we're actually in pretty good shape. You can imagine we're going to lose West Virginia.
Right.
Forget that. Montana is
I think that's
neck and neck.
I think that's where it gets decided.
I think we're fine in Nevada and Arizona. Right. Maybe more than people think, even in Ohio. But we go to the map. Come on in, Mr. Speaker. Come on, that's Representative Pearson. So let me. But you get three places. Nebraska.
Yeah.
Okay. Right now, she has never been bothered, but that's okay. That's right. Nebraska. Texas, we got a good candidate.
Yes.
The state that I think everybody is wrong about is Florida.
Yeah.
And we got the choice referendum. We got the weed referendum. But they put big money in.
Yes.
And they usually turn out, quote, Democratic constituencies. And the insurance. You've got to look into this insurance.
Oh, it's absolutely. How can you buy a home without insurance, without a functional insurance market?
But you can't. No. If you have a mortgage, you have to have homeowners. You can't. They'll lay you out. So my wife and I, we have a place in Mississippi, on the Gulf, a bay. And she said, they want, and I think it's worth, I don't know, $1.5 million maybe. He said, they'll give us $600,000 worth of coverage, $60,000. I said, let's just take the crapshoot. We too old to rebuild anyway. We don't have a mortgage. All right. I mean, most people are not in a position to do that. And if you buy a house and you figure in, and you got fixed costs, and everybody says, hey, people go to the gas pump, James, they see that. It's that, yeah. And so you think you're going to be paying $2,500 a year for homeowners insurance, and all of a sudden you're paying $4,000? That you don't have any choice. You can't. And of course, are these insurance companies engaged in some kind of premium collusion? Yeah, come on. I mean, this is the nature of the world.
All right.
So but the insurance thing in Florida, it's bad in a lot of places.
Yeah.
Florida's a good
It is the
place.
worst. Yeah, absolutely. All right. Final question as we end our time together. How many electoral votes does Kamala get?
Jennifer, early in my career, I asked Peter Hart, who he thinks we can win. And he says, I'm not into predicting elections. He was like foremost famous pollster. And I'm into trying to affect elections, and that's the way you should be. And I don't know, but I would take even money that Harris's percent in North Carolina is higher than it is in Georgia. I can tell you that we might win one or lose one, but I just think that her percent in North Carolina would be higher than Georgia. And usually, if there are 7 swing states, it's almost guaranteed somebody's going to carry 6. They generally
they all fall at the end.
They all kind of fall in the same place.
Right.
And if you close, we can only be close in the Senate. I mean, we got to hold Montana, and we'd have to pick up one from Nebraska, Florida, Texas, which is challenging. But it's not impossible. It's not a totally daunting task.
Right. Well, James, thanks for stopping by or allowing me to stop by. And let's hope the optimism, the energy we've felt this week. I'm not used to seeing Democrats this happy, so let's hope it stays on.
We know it's going to be some tough times ahead. We'll leave here feeling pretty good, and you got to be prepared because a couple of headshots are coming our way. We know that.
Absolutely.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.